Hey guys, James with Esprit Model Jetty USA. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about setting up double path in the radio. For those of you that are wanting to run a receiver and a satellite receiver or two receivers in an airplane without running something like a Central Box 200 or 100. I wanted to go over that with you and show you how that's done. It's very easy to set up. Most the stuff we're setting up is single receiver, so we're binding that to one receiver. In double path, we're actually splitting the FM modules in the radio, or the RF modules in the radio, and transmitting separately to two independent receivers and then letting those receivers communicate. What I'm going to do is go ahead and go through the setup, how to program it, how to bind it, and how to set the telemetry up as well. So we'll go ahead and get started. First thing that you're going to need to do is in the menu, click on Menu, go to Advanced Properties, and go to Wireless Modes and Trainer. In mode, default is using a single receiver and sending both RF modules communicating with that single receiver. So we're going to go ahead and change it there. We're going to change that to double path. Once you click on double path, you'll see pair primary TX module, pair secondary TX module. Don't let it confuse you. They are receivers, but because we use transceivers, that's why you see TX module. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to pair our primary. I'm using an R9 as my primary and an R3 as my secondary. So I'm going to take my R9, I'm going to go ahead and insert the bind plug. I'm going to go ahead and give the R9 power, and I'm going to click on pair primary transmitter. Unregistered RX, really use, we'll tell it yes. We'll pull the bind plug, and then we'll go ahead and pull power from the R9. So now we've got the R9 bound up, which is our primary transmitter. I'm going to go ahead and put a bind plug into the R3, and we're going to use port 4 for the bind plug. And then you can supply power in any of the other open ports. So typically just power that through port 2 since it's right above the bind plug there. Once you've powered the R3, you're going to go ahead and click on pair secondary transmitter module. It immediately found it, so we're going to go ahead and click yes. We're going to pull that bind plug out. We're going to unplug our R3. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and plug the male-to-male connector into port 3 of our R3, and once I've done that, we'll go ahead and plug the other end into the satellite port on my R9, and we're going to go ahead and supply power to our R9, and we should be able to now communicate with both the R9 and the R3. So we're going to go ahead and back all the way out to the main menu. We're going to go into our model menu and into Device Explorer. We see both the R9 and the R3. So what we want to do is we want to go into the R9, go into our general settings, and make sure that our satellite 1 is set to PPM input. Once we've done that, we're going to log out of the R9, into the R3, and make sure that our serial link is PPM positive. So now that we've done that, we've set up the R9 as a standard receiver and set up the satellite port as PPM input. Set the R3 up as serial link output PPM positive. So now the two are communicating. We're transmitting to both of them independently, and they're communicating between the two. So what happens if we drop one of those RF links? Either of the two receivers can handle receiving duties, passing the signal to the R9, which handles the distribution to the servos. So we're going to go ahead and exit out and take a look at our telemetry. You'll notice here that we have antennas 1 through 4 now listed on the screen, as well as our receiver voltage for both of our independent receivers. I do want to give you a heads up, if you do set your radio up in double path and you set the default to alarm at loss of any receiver, what's going to happen when you drop the receiver out, either of the two receivers, is you're going to lose all of your telemetry. It is still communicating. If I had a servo plugged in right now, we'd still have full control over that servo. But it drops all of that telemetry to let you know, hey, there's a major problem. We've lost a receiver. We're running on a single deck. Go ahead and come around and bring the airplane in to see if we can find out what's caused that situation. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that that is going to happen. If you lose signal on one of those, or if you unplug it while you're setting up, is generally when most people see it. It's generally when I get the first phone call is, hey, this thing doesn't work. I unplugged one of the receivers and it's saying I don't have anything. Well, you do. You just lose the telemetry. This is the alternate to setting up a receiver in clone. I think this is a little better way to go about it. When you set up the receiver in clone, it physically copies one receiver as the other receiver. Makes the receiver that's set up as a clone of the first receiver is invisible to telemetry, and once it's converted, has to be converted back via the Profi box in a wired configuration, because it's can no longer be communicated with wirelessly. So it's definitely more preferable to set the system up in double path if you want to do multiple receivers rather than setting up in clone mode. If you have any questions on anything you saw or ways to use this, give me a call or reach out to us at the store. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.